Hi Western, this is Celine Moore for BPC, and I'm here today with musician, writer, producer, and broadcaster Jian Ghomeshi. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you're here today to talk about media, art, and activism.
Is that what
So
I'm
I guess that's sort of what I read on your Twitter as you were driving here from Toronto today. So thanks for taking the long trek to come and talk to us. So I guess, what are you gonna talk to us today about?
So I thought I would probably make fun of my dad a bunch because people love that, and anything at his expense. And then I thought I'd talk a little bit about how we built Q, and the lessons I've learned from that in terms of the media part. And assuming that a lot of the audiences are students, are Western students, some of how I feel about giving advice to people who might want to go into communications, media, the kind of stuff that I do, and hopefully some sort of inspirational follow your passion message.
Yeah, so you started Q, I guess, in 2007, and you've really developed your interview format. I mean, something that I recognize is that you're a really good listener at the same time. That's sort of, you're having a conversation with these guests. And for instance, one interview you had yesterday, I guess, with Mike Tyson, that was over the phone, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't have that visual conversation format. Do you think that's something that would have helped maybe with getting sort of, when you're working with a difficult guest, getting information out of them?
That was good. Yes, it definitely helps to be in person. You can send the person visual cues. You can also look at their body language and start to read their rhythm in a way that you can't on the phone. Having said that, I've actually been able to develop a sense of community with people on the phone sometimes as well. It's amazing the things you can communicate with your voice. In the case of Mike Tyson, it was particularly challenging. He's a very curt talker, and I learned that early on in the interview that I think we had half an hour with him, and I think I prepared 8 questions or something, and I ended up asking about 35 because he would sort of go, "That's just the way it is," and I need to fill the space. But I think he did open up over the course of the interview. At first, I wasn't sure if he was being obstinate or if that's just the way he is, and I think that's the way he is. I think one of his coping mechanisms is to disconnect, and so it was about trying to dig in there. But did the phone help? Probably not. I mean, if he had been in person, it would have been better. Even if he had been in a studio, sometimes it's not just that the person is on the phone, it's that the person is on the phone making bacon and their kid is in the room or whatever.
One other question, I guess, would be sometimes you see you kind of ask for more time in an interview. Has there ever been a time where you wanted to just get me out of here, I don't want to talk to this person anymore, or just when you wanted to sort of cut short?
Not get me out of here, I don't want to talk to this person. More so that there have been times you have to know when if something's run its course and it's not going to be particularly interesting for the audience, that if there's an opportunity to wrap it up, to do so. But a lot of the time, I feel very fortunate. I mean, we built the show this way, and I'll speak about this tonight, even though we were told that long-form interviews don't work anymore, especially younger generations have ADD and they can't handle long format, and which we've proven to be a myth, or more specifically bullshit, in the sense that you can do a long interview and apparently people will be interested in it. But because the culture of that kind of long interview doesn't exist as much, publicists, the interviewees themselves, everybody will expect to be doing 10, 15 minutes at the most, and kind of be so
that extra 15
that when you hear me sometimes say, "Can you stick around a bit longer?" It's actually a device to kind of, in some cases, I shouldn't say this, but in some cases it's actually a device to get around the publicist who might be sitting there, whose job it is to cut it off at 20 minutes. But if the interviewee is enjoying it, they'll say, "Yeah, of course," and then the publicist can't really cut in because the person has given me the green light. So usually the longer the better, but not always.
Okay, cool. I guess, what are some
What are you asking?
interviewers?
Can you take more time?
Yeah.
'Cause
Um,
my phone is probably cutting it off.
Yeah. I guess one more question would be, what interviewers do you look up to?
Pretty much none.
None?
Yeah, they're.
So you've got your own thing going, and it seems to work.
No, that's not true. I actually really admire Barbara Walters.
Mhm.
I mean, she sort of turned into the woman from the
Preview or like
exactly. And then she's turned into the View woman who
Yeah.
also at Christmas time makes Tom Cruise cry or something. But she actually is an incredible journalist who was the only person to interview every president from Lyndon Johnson forward, and she's interviewed Castro and the Shah of Iran. I mean, she did some really
serious interviews.
and really fastidiously prepared, and so somewhere between her and, I mean, I like Howard Stern. You know, I think he's, for me, he kind of strays into going for the joke and talking about someone's breasts or something too often. But for the most part, when he's inside an interview, he's a great communicator and he can draw people out. So those would be a couple of examples. There's an old guy named Robert. I think he's Robert Frost. Or is that the poet? But anyway, in England, I remember watching him and thinking he was great. Whether he was the poet or the interviewer, apparently had a huge impact on me.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your talk today. Thank you so much for taking the time to interview with us.
Thank you.
All right. BPC out.